If you're ready to harness the power of your communications data, blast off with Nihilist today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ram. Welcome to Coding with Nihilist. Like, you want to do a quick intro?
Hello, I'm Black, Senior Developer Advocate here at Nihilist.
Yeah, and the show is about all things programming. So we talk about working with different APIs, programming languages, and as well anything and everything to do with Nihilist. So we're always excited to build with Nihilist and show what you can do with your communication data.
Yep, totally.
Blog, how you been doing?
I've been doing pretty good. My son is doing better.
Nice.
From fever, but he's getting better. What about you?
I've been doing good. We had a bit of a temperature flip. It flipped by about 20 degrees or 25 degrees, so it's quite cold today.
Yeah, that's right.
But looking forward to the next few days, to the weekend. I wanted to ask you about your shirt. I know you tweeted about Blender before. What have you done with Blender so far?
So I've done a lot of 3D modeling, which is a 3D modeling software. I totally love it. I'm not obviously professional or anything. I used to use it on my previous work to create some 3D models for some applications. But I haven't really got like deep dive. I mean, what you can do with Blender is just amazing. Not only 3D models, but you can create like complete movies. So it's pretty powerful. I just love it.
That's awesome. Cool. Yeah, let's dive into today's topic. So today we're going to talk about how to track email open rates.
Cool. Awesome.
And we'll first kind of just go through and talk about what it is. We do have a blog post, so I'll share a link to that. And then we'll just look through code samples. So we have a lot of code samples on our GitHub repo. So I just want to highlight those throughout the video. And then we can start talking more about email open rates, how you can track it, and then other ways that you can track email open rates that are possible with Nihilist as well.
Cool. Sounds good.
Let's dive in. So the first part is, okay, what is email open rates? What does this mean, and how can this be useful for someone that's building and communicating with their users? So essentially, email open rate, like it says, the name email open rate, it's a measure of the total number of emails that are opened by your users. And this is in comparison to the total emails that you send. So for example, if you send 10 emails, only 5 emails are opened by your users. That's an email open rate of about 50%. So 1 out of every 2 emails received by your users opened by them.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's pretty important. I mean, if you're sending a lot of emails, you need to know what's your acceptance rate, right?
Yeah, this is a big measure that a lot of marketing teams will want to know is what is their email open rate? How are users engaging with their emails? And are they actually opening them or not? And this is also an indication if something's going wrong. If your email open rate is not increasing or not working, you may need to make some changes to your funnel or how you do email marketing going forward.
Yeah, that's totally true.
Yeah, and most of this live stream we do cover on our blog. You can take a look at it at nihilist.com/blog/how to track email open rates. So we go through a step through what we're going to work on today. And before we dive into and look at code samples, let's just talk more about how can you actually track email open rates. So let me just share my screen. I'm going to show a diagram that we can take a look at. There we go. Okay, cool. There we go. I'm just going to show this diagram. Let me make it a little bigger. And I'm just going to walk through the happy path, which is what we're going to look at for today, where you can actually do all these 3 steps with Nihilist. So you can actually, step 1, you can actually create the email. Step 2, you can actually send the email. And then after you send the email, it can go into different states. So the ideal, the happy path, the smiley emoji is when your email is actually read by your user. This is what we want as a goal. We want our users to read and engage with the email that we send across so they can actually get value from it. There are a few other paths that the email can take. So one path is that the email bounced. For example, if the email is not received by your user, it could be flagged for spam or could not be receiving them for other reasons. And we've talked about this in past blog posts in terms of ways to understand email deliverability. So this is one to keep an eye out for if your emails are not actually being received by your users.
Yeah, that's pretty important.
Yeah. And the other one is emails unread. So this is another place where we want our emails to be read, but for some reason, maybe they fall through the crack or they don't actually get read by the user. So these are 3 different places that your email can end up. And how we track email open rate is just a ratio of your emails read to the total number of emails that are received. So here I have emails sent minus emails bounced. So you want to check the total emails that are read against the total number of emails that are actually received by your users.
Yeah.
And this is your open rate or your email open rate for all the emails that you send out. So let's go through and take a look at these steps 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to spend a bit of time in the Nihilist code samples repository.
Cool.
And this is a place that, what's that?
I always love to go there to the Nihilist code samples.
Yeah, so we've actually been growing our repository. And if you look at the top, we're close to 80 repositories. So we'll definitely have to take some time to celebrate when we get to 100 code samples available on Nihilist samples. Yeah, so at github.com/nihilist-samples, we have a lot of code samples that you can take a look at when you're starting with Nihilist. And the ones we're going to look at today are going to be mostly related to the Node SDK, but you can always take a look at our other SDKs that we have available. So we have code samples for Python, for Ruby, Java, and as well other languages. I know Blog likes to add more language examples here. So we have those as well.
Yeah. Some C#, some PHP, some Rust.
Awesome. So let's go and take a look at the first code sample, which is for sending an email. So we've already gone through and done these steps in the background, but I want to take a look at the code just so you can get an overview of what's going on here. So we're just going to look at the index.js file. And most code samples start off with a very similar pattern. So we just have an import of the Nihilist SDK. And as well, we have our environment variable. So that's what .env is for. And as well, we're going to create a draft. So we're bringing in the draft module from the Nihilist package. And the next step is we want to configure our client. So this is the Nihilist SDK. We want to set up the Nihilist SDK. And then we're going to send the email. So here we're creating a draft email. And the subject is with love from Nihilist. And the body says, well, well, well. So what I've done already is I've already sent this email out to a few recipients. So I've gone through, used this code sample. I've sent it out to a few recipients. The next thing we'd want to do is just check if the email was read by the user and if it was actually opened. So let's look at another code sample that I have here for reading emails that are received by your user. So here is the code sample, and it follows a very similar pattern to what we've seen before. We have our imports, we set up our Nihilist client, and here we're actually retrieving messages from the user's account. So in this example, we set a limit, so we're retrieving the first 5 messages, and then we're just going to print out the message and the date. So using these 2 code samples, what I've done is I've gone ahead and created a code sample that allows you to track email open rates. So let me go ahead and show that right now. So we'll just jump there next. Okay, cool. There we go. So this is actually done inside of code spaces on GitHub. So it's hosted on GitHub. And I'm going to walk through the code sample. And it's very similar to what we've seen before. Is we first have your imports. So we're importing your .env so you can get your environment variables. We're setting up the Nihilist client. The only one thing that we're doing differently here is we're not actually passing the access token. So we're going to grab the access token for each email and pass into the Nihilist client. So these access tokens are actually taken from the environment variables that we've set up in the GitHub code spaces. And we've covered this in a previous video if you want to take a look at setting up a GitHub code space and setting up environment variables. And what we're doing is for each user, we're going to iterate through and grab the message that we sent out in the user's inbox. So using the code that we have from the read node email read sample, we're going to grab all emails in their inbox. We're going to grab one email with the subject line "with love from Nihilus." And we're actually looking for a property on this email. And the property that we're looking for on this email is going to be the unread property. And this is where I'm actually logging out this information down here. So I have the email, so the user email. And for now, I've just kind of hidden the user email. So I'm not showing the actual emails. I've just put in sample emails for now. But these are actual email accounts. And I have the email on certain dates. I have the subject, and I'm showing the status if the message was opened or not. We're going to run through this code sample now just to see what are the statuses of these emails and if we can check if the email's been opened or not. Just give me 1 second. I'm just going to check to make sure the accounts are set up. It looks like they are set up correctly. And all we have to do is run the start command to get the results of whether these two accounts or whether these two emails have been opened or not. So here what we have is we have the email, and I've hidden the actual email accounts for now, just for the live stream. It shows the date the email was sent on, and as well as shows the subject, which is with love from Nihilus. We're grabbing the emails by subject, and you can query based off of many parameters when searching through an inbox. The one we've decided is to use is the subject property, and here it shows that the status if the email has been opened or not. So here you can see we have two emails, and one of the emails has a status of unopened, and the other one has a status of opened. So this is one way that you can actually use Nihilus to check the user's inbox to see whether an email has been opened or not. And this will help you to determine if your open rate or email help you to determine what your email open rate looks like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then you can start counting them out and then get a percentage of open email rate. That's cool.
Yep. And let's go over here. Let's dive back into this. And that was really the walkthrough where we went through the 3 different steps. We looked at code for sending an email, looked at code for reading an email, and as well looked at the property unread, which allows you to grab information about whether an email's been opened or not.
That's awesome.
And before we continue, we just want to pause and just ask that you like and subscribe, whether you're watching us on YouTube, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. Feel free to engage with us. We'd love to hear from you about topics you're interested in. I know Blog's looking for someone to join us on this live stream, so hopefully we have a guest come on board.
Hopefully we're going to have a guest soon. That's what I would love. And I see that our amount of subscribers is growing, so thank you. Just keep liking and subscribing to our channel so we can keep doing these Coding with Nihilus episodes.
Yeah, that's great. We love all kinds of engagement. We love your feedback, and we love to learn more about what you're building, what you're working on, and to see if those are topics that you would want us to cover on this live stream.
Yep.
And before we jump off, I know this is one area or one topic that I didn't mention because it's very common when you think about email open rates. One way to go about this is message tracking with pixels. And the idea here is that you can actually embed an image in the email without the user really knowing, and you can start tracking whether that image has been loaded or not.
Okay.
So knowing whether that image has been loaded tells you that, okay, this email's actually been opened. So it's an indirect way to determine whether email has been opened or not by your users.
Oh, that's nice. I didn't know about that one. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so this is one thing we didn't get to cover, but this is available through Nihilus as well. If you go to our developer docs, developer.nihilus.com, you search for message tracking, you'll see that we offer a lot of this functionality as well in terms of pixel tracking where you can embed pixels. So there are multiple ways that you can actually track email open rates. One thing to kind of be cautious of is how consistent each option is, where pixel tracking may not be as consistent because it's an out of the control experience where you're relying on the communication provider like a Gmail or Outlook to tell you this information or to load the image appropriately. However, if you're using the unread property, you can actually check directly if the email's been opened or not. So there are a few ways to go about to check email open rates or to track whether email has been open or not, and you can consider doing most of them through Nihilus. And last but not least, we have a lot of blogs coming out.
Mhm.
I was going to say we have a lot of blogs coming out. But we do try to blog every week. We come out with various topics about building with Nihilus, and as well different languages that you can use to build with Nihilus and integrate with our APIs.
Yeah, it's a lot of interesting things coming. So stay tuned for the blogs. Stay tuned for Coding with Nihilus. We're always trying to do something new and something fun and interesting and engaging.
Yep. And this is a friendly reminder. Our live streams are every Wednesday and Friday. I know we're taking a bit of a break next week, but we're going to come back on every Wednesday and Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern and 8 a.m. Pacific time.
And remember that you can watch us also on LinkedIn or YouTube, either live or either post-live.
Yep. Yeah, that was it. That's all I had to show today, blog.
Yeah, thank you so much. Very interesting. I learned a lot today. So thanks for that, Ram.
Awesome. Happy Friday. See you.
Happy Friday to you too. Bye, everyone. Take care.